Hello, and welcome to Linking to the Afterlife. I'm Donna Boyle, medium and direct messenger for spirit. As a medium, I channel not only the voices of my clients' loved ones, but also their emotions and experiences in the afterlife. The link we create during our reading helps those in this physical life as well as those who have crossed over. As a direct messenger for spirit, everything I say comes from something I am feeling, sensing, seeing, hearing, smelling, and tasting. It is my job to interpret the images and sensations that appear in my physical and emotional body. I do that as a clear, conscious channel for spirit. Let's listen in now to the conversation with my guest and their loved one. You may find that some of the messages are meant for not only my guest, but for all of us. In this episode, I'm revealing a few secrets about how I experience the links with spirit. I've added some clips from a reading to give you all some idea of how I work and the possibilities of how I interpret messages when linking to the afterlife. My guest also shared what she was able to confirm after the reading. In this first clip, Spirit was making such a big production of something, I knew there was more to it. I started having goosebumps right at the start, but the true reason for that sensation wasn't revealed until later in the reading. Would you please say your first name and the phrase, "It's a beautiful day"?
Emily, it's a beautiful day.
Thank you, Emily. And now would you state the first name of your loved one that you'd like to connect with, please?
Matt.
Matt, thank you. So I'm feeling Matt is a younger soul. He obviously did not cross from old age. Would I be correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Matt, I feel, is a very open soul, though. I like him. I love his wavy hair. I love was he blondish, like a dirtiest blonde? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Matt is giving me goose pimples from the top to the bottom. And that always tells me, oh my gosh, there's so much love in this person's soul. Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Matt's happy. He's very happy. He's saying, I'm very happy. He keeps repeating it over and over. Would that be correct as to who he was in the physical world?
Yes.
Yes. I like his happiness. I like his attitude. I like his swagger. Like he keeps saying, run your fingers through my hair, Donna. And I'm like, I'm not with that. Would he be someone who would have been so comfortable with you touch my hair? Or was his hair like a big thing for him?
Yes, but I think he was, starting to lose it. So
So now he's saying,
so that would,
now he's attached to his hair. I get it.
Yes,
I get it. That's the way it happens. Good one.
That would make sense. Yes.
Perfect. I'm still getting a lot of goose pimples, which is telling me, even though I'm gone, there's so many parts of me that are love. Do you agree?
Yes.
I love the love. He just keeps saying the word love.
Oh.
Matt was giving me the sensation that he was my best friend. That tells me the sort of person he was in the physical world. And I felt like he could be one of Emily's good friends. In the image in my mind, the soul I'm speaking to could appear close to me, far from me, on my right side or my left side. All of these things mean something to me, and that's what I interpret. Matt was snuggling up close, looking at me like he was very comfortable with the interaction. I could feel his love. Would he be close to age or such a good friend, close like a good friend? Would that make sense?
No.
Not close in age.
Not close in age.
He feels young. He doesn't.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go with that. And a close friend. Would you say that? Like he keeps wanting to jump in next to me and, snuggle up next to me and bring his shoulder against my shoulder. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is happening now. Does that make sense?
I think he was a close friend to almost everybody he met. Yeah, so
Oh,
that
so
would
he's
make
a
sense.
snuggler.
Yes.
No wonder. I'm like, you don't even know me. And he's like, oh, Donna, I know so much about you. I'm like, oh, okay. And I agree with him. Anything in the non-physical world, he knows already this. He knew this was going to happen. He already knew that. So, of course, he did his research on me because he pushed me to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
love about the non-physical world.
Yeah.
They can make this thing happen.
I will typically get some sort of feeling in my physical body when speaking to a loved one. These sensations could have been happening in their body before their crossing or at the time of their crossing. The feelings could present themselves as emotional or physical within me. Once the feeling is confirmed by my client, it passes away. If it doesn't stop, I know there's something else that hasn't been acknowledged, either by my client or their loved one. At this point, I'll go deeper into the interpretation, which is what happens in this next clip.
I'm feeling there's something in my throat here, like maybe toward the end he wasn't able to speak, or what caused him to cross had more of a throat issue. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So is it both that, or he wasn't able to speak at the end, or
He wasn't able to speak at the end because of something that had
something
happened.
there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. He was very peaceful at the end, but you can also see the look in his eyes. Like, I feel like there were people around him during, like, we'll say the last few days, and you could look in his eyes and know what he was thinking. Would that make sense? His eyes were very expressive.
No.
So is he showing me from his physical time that his eyes were very expressive, like he liked to just like look in your eyes?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to what I first said, because I'm seeing him during the final days. So I don't know if his eyes were closed or not, but let me tell you, he was still looking.
Yeah.
He was
That
still
makes sense.
seeing. There were people around him that were saying, I can still see him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
When I don't feel any physical or emotional pain in myself, it could mean a few things. One, they've simply let go of the experience of their passing. Two, it was a quick crossing, unexpected. Or three, they are asking those left behind to let go of it as well. And this third reason is one of the biggest messages for those of us in the physical world: to consider letting go of all the circumstances around the passing of their loved one. That's a message some of us might relate to.
I'm not feeling physical pain in my physical body right now. If anything, I'm hurting a little bit in my stomach area because I'm sitting. Like, I prefer to be laying down. Would that make sense? Like, we'll say, let me repeat or rephrase. I feel that sitting up was not comfortable for him. So either towards the final days, he had to be laying down. There was no way he could.
Yes.
Okay. But man, his eyes, he's still, like, again, I don't know if they were closed during those final days or not, but his eyes, he was looking. Those final days, he was looking around. He was seeing everybody that was there. And inside, he was smiling. His soul was smiling from the inside. Do you understand?
Yes.
He said, okay, Donna, enough talk about that. Let's go. Because that's what spirit does. They're going to show me first how and what was happening during the time they passed. And then they're like, okay, let's go with who I am now. Like, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Say his first name again for me.
Matt.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He said, I loved my name. I loved my name. And I'll tell you, Donna, why I loved my name. And I'm like, please do. He said, I never wanted to be a doormat for anyone. I never wanted anyone to walk over me. as well as I would never walk over anyone else. I feel he's just a very conscious soul in the physical world. Do you agree?
Yes.
I don't feel any thoughts in his head about what caused him to cross, meaning what his challenge or medical issue was. There's like no thought at all. He's like, okay, here one day, gone the next. That's it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. And I say that only because there
Yeah.
are souls that really aren't attached to what happened to them in the physical world. They're just not attached to it. They don't need to tell me anymore, because he's this vibrant soul right now, this pure soul right now.
Sometimes bigwigs, like well-known spiritual figures, start to make their way into my head. It typically means the soul I am speaking with was either spiritual in the physical world, or they have gained a more expansive understanding of the spirit world since their crossing. It can also mean my guest has a connection to the bigwigs. This time was slightly different, but we both enjoyed the message.
Was he a spiritual person in the physical world? I'm seeing so much spirit around him. To Donna, this signifies like Mother Mary, Jesus, the religious symbols. Would that make sense?
He was spiritual, yes.
Very spiritual and not necessarily religious. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
those symbols to me just mean the physical
Yes.
beings of Jesus,
Yeah.
and Mother Mary. Even though he may not have spoken to them, they were attracted to his walk of life. Do you understand that phrase? For
Yes.
him, they loved the way he walked along. They loved his soul, his spirit. And again, I'll say, not like he may have communicated with them or not, but they were with him. Like if he ever had a reading with me before he crossed, I'd be bringing through those two souls, and he'd be like, "Stay with me," and I'm like, "Let me tell you, I'm here." Right? You understand?
Yes, he would be very happy to hear that, I'm sure.
He would tell everyone. Yeah, he's a vocal person.
The goosebumps I was having kept happening throughout the reading. I thought it was because he was so close to me. When the world of spirit gets close to me, I can get a little lightheaded or experience goosebumps somewhere in my body. This time, Matt was signaling something else to me. It's all about the interpretation, and sometimes that has to be confirmed by my client. The confirmation from Emily came later in the reading.
But he's so close to me. Like I keep getting shivers, and it's not because it's cold right now in my house. I keep getting shivers because his vibration is so energetic.
I see an image in my head and I interpret it. Sometimes it's literal and other times it's figurative. What happened here was taken as a literal imbalance in the moment, but then it sorted itself out. It takes the back and forth until the message comes full circle so both of us can understand it. After some discussion about the image and no conclusion, I decided to put it to the side and wait for further confirmation. Emily's loved one began to have a deeper conversation with her about his own life and those left behind. Matt was very good at allowing me to feel who he truly was. He also gives Emily something she needed.
There's also something wrong, something challenging him with the way he walked, like maybe his right side. Did he have a limp? Did he have one leg shorter than the other?
No.
Boy, something about this one leg shorter than the other keeps coming through here. Nothing about that makes sense?
Mm-mm.
God, I feel something about him. One side was different than the other. Bigger picture, one side was different than the other. I can hold that off for a moment. So now I want to turn him around a little bit because he's so focused on me and how he loves this world of non-physical. I want to turn him a little bit and speak to you directly. Okay, you okay with that?
Yes.
He's saying to you, I never regretted anything. Nope, not one thing. not what I chose not to do, and not what I chose to do. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yes. He says, as many times as everybody told me something, it was my choice whether I was going to listen or not. Do you understand?
Yes.
I feel there was that piece of him. This may be those two sides. There was the piece of him that was everything we just talked about. And then there was that stubborn piece of him. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So there goes that two sides. Remember I talked about right side and left side?
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I think personality wise,
Yep,
I
there it
could
is.
see the two sides. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. You see how it came around?
Yeah.
He's saying again, no regrets. I'm not sorry, nothing. He said, I was there because I was there. I was there for you and for everyone else. And my job was to get out. That was my job, was to get out, was to be done when I was done so I could leave. But it was your lessons, all of you left behind, that are now feeling that message. Do you understand that?
Yes.
He's giving me a big hug right now. He said, can you give that to her? And I said, you can give that to her because she's not right beside me. So he's saying to me, tell her, when she feels me the most, I'm hugging her. When she feels that presence, it would be the right side of you. When you feel those pimples on the right side of you, he's saying, think of me a lot. Don't think of me a little, think of me a lot. I'll be hugging you from the right side. How's that sound?
Okay. Great.
This next part is Emily filling in the blanks about what has been said so far and why I got the sensation that he was such a good friend to her. And remember the goosebumps? Here comes the big reveal.
Yeah, so he was actually my dad. But he was a very pure young soul. So I could see why he would be coming through as somebody young. He would like to pretend to be my age, so I can really see why that might be confusing on a spiritual level. Yeah. I wrote down because you mentioned that you were getting goosebumps a lot. He had a heart attack unexpectedly. And in the hospital, he couldn't talk to us, which you said, but he kept getting goosebumps. So that was our only communication. So it was really powerful that you said that.
I kept saying that. I still freaking reading. I was getting goosebumps.
Yeah. So that was all of us were he can hear us,
Because you could see the goosebumps on his.
Yeah. Yeah. He was just getting them all over. Yeah.
Oh, that's so special.
Such a kid. I always said he was more like a brother than a dad.
Yeah, because now Donna's going to analyze herself here. It didn't feel brother. It definitely didn't feel father. It said to me, very close friend.
Well, he was a very close friend. So he was all of those things. Yeah.
And his connection to others, lots of connections. His purpose to be here. You see that. You understood that.
Yeah. He just had this really powerful spirit that's just connected to everybody. Like you said, the second you met him, it was just you felt like you were oh, I'm with my best friend. That's why when you said oh, cuddled up, I was yeah, that sounds right. Just immediately, sharing love.
The way I link to souls in the non-physical world is they could appear as the guest says their name, or another loved one or guide can take the opportunity to join the link and communicate with us. In this clip, Matt brings up something about his brother. I was hearing the words younger brother, and then I heard the name Skip or Skippy, and I saw someone literally skipping. Emily wasn't so sure, so we went down a different road, which actually made sense at the time.
Does he have a brother or do you have a brother?
He has two brothers.
Who's
yes,
the younger
one younger?
brother?
Yes.
The younger brother in the physical world or the non-physical world?
Physical world.
So he's bringing up his younger brother. Is his younger brother has a name not saying this is the name, but it could be Skip or Skippy, kind of like a playful kind of whether it's a nickname or something, because he's like Skippy or Skip, your dad. He's like,
I don't know. I'm trying to think if they had any nicknames. His name is Mike, but for some reason I'm thinking of a dream that my dad had told me about once where they were skipping together to my grandmother. And when you're saying that, that's like they were skipping and running towards her when they were like, his dream was they were young children again, like skipping and running towards her. Yeah. So that maybe, yeah.
That's it. So he was telling you about a dream he had, or in your dream?
Yes, he had that dream and I had wrote it down.
It's been known to happen that my client could get another meaning of the message after the reading. Emily reported back the following day after she got a confirmation that surprised all of us, even her uncle.
You had mentioned his younger brother, and you had said, did he call him Skippy or Skip? And I said no, and I went off about how my first thought was a dream that my dad had mentioned to me that he had when he was alive, and I thought that maybe that's what it was correlating to. And I have just called my uncle, Matt's younger brother, and I gave no backstory. I mentioned nothing about talking to you. I said, hey, this is really random. I just wanted to check in with you. And I said, I have a really weird question. Did my dad ever call you Skippy? And there was silence on the other end of the phone for maybe 5 seconds. And then he just said, well, yeah, but he never really said it in front of anybody. He said it was just kind of something he would say to me. And that was a really amazing thing that you gave me later on.
To my guests this week, thank you for allowing me to connect with your loved one. And for all of you listening, thank you for your appearance in the oneness. In this space of love, we all expand in consciousness. If you're interested in a reading for the show or a private reading with me, see the show notes for more info. We appreciate your rating and review of this podcast. Thanks again. Until next time.